lack of hope. That's the central message which I hear from young people across the continent. But don't take my word for it. It is the headline of the latest Africa report by the International Labour Organization. No jobs, wrong skills, lack of hope. Every single month, 1 million young people enter Africa's job market, and only 1 in 4 secures a formal job. It's a youthquake that, if not managed effectively, could derail Africa's development journey. Your Excellency, Dr. William Ruto, President of the Republic. Your Excellency, Tani Mohamed, Senior Minister of Development of France. Honorable CS Education, distinguished guests. My name indeed is Patrick Verkooyen, and I'm the proud Chancellor of the University of Nairobi. But against the bleak backdrop of the youthquake, we're here today to celebrate tremendous news. Not just for Nairobi, not just for Kenya, for Africa. And as you know, Mr. President, a week ago, I was at COP29, the climate summit in Baku, and I was invited to address African leaders. And you, Mr. President, you were represented by Honorable Prime Cabinet Secretary Mutembei. The topic of that meeting was the valuation and harnessing of Africa's natural capital, which, as you know, is the most abundant of any continent. I brought exactly the same message as I highlighted now. Because Africa, besides natural capital, has a second form of capital: human capital. It is Africa's greatest asset. So, it's the first time, Mr. President, I'm speaking in front of you, and I want to tell you how extremely honored I was to be called upon you to serve as the Chancellor of this nation's greatest university, again, the University of Nairobi. And that is why, together, indeed, we brought forward in May the Big Five. 5 big, bold, transformational initiatives of Kenya's higher education sector, fully supported by you, Your Excellency, President Ruto, and your administration. We have the CS here, we have the Senior Economic Advisor here, to make it fit for purpose, for the future of work and a more resilient economy, spearheaded by UN. And I'm glad also that we have the Chair of Council, Council members, Acting Vice Chancellor. So why are we here today? Today, we're here to officially launch one of those 5 big initiatives. I call it Silicon Savannah Innovation Park. It's thanks to the extraordinary support of France. Just to appreciate this outside this room, in the homes of Kenyan families, this is the largest investment of France in higher education, in the history of France, in Africa. And thank you, Honourable Minister, to put your bet on Kenya, the 35 million euros inside the University of Nairobi, because it is the inception project to establish our innovation park, creating, with the support of your team and your very dynamic ambassador, an entire new science and engineering complex. We partner with French universities and G7 Corporation. And ultimately, Mr. President, it will empower thousands and thousands of Kenya's bright youth to access and drive the digital economy. Mr. President, Honourable Minister, Excellencies, colleagues, I strongly believe that this major initiative today marks a turning point. Because in getting our response to the youthquake right, we unlock Africa's demographic dividend. And truth being told, me, coming from Europe, I can tell you it's much harder to be productive with a rapidly aging population, and I can testify to the aging part, than it is with an overwhelming youth one. But it's only possible if we create three things: jobs, jobs, jobs. And the reality facing Africa applies equally right here in Kenya, which I consider my second home. Every year, you know it, we know it, I know it, 1 million Kenyans graduate, but roughly half of them cannot land a job. In our book, in your book, in my book, it is not right for a student to complete years of work at our nation's greatest tertiary institution to end up driving a taxi. It's not right to study chemistry or linguistics to end up working tables. It's not right to meet all the requirements to obtain a university degree in Kenya to end up with no job at all. But Kenya, Africa, we will not bridge the massive jobs gap by copying development playbook from Europe or China. Kenya's future lies in fully harnessing the fast-paced 21st century digital revolution. And Mr. President, I know you know, I know most of you know, that Apple does not manufacture a single of its high-tech iPhones themselves. No, it's all done by the Taiwanese company Foxconn, mainly in China. Think about it. The total market value of Foxconn last year was 50 billion US dollars. Let's compare it to Apple. The total market value of Apple was more than 3 trillion US dollars. It's one, as we know, most valuable companies in the world. Not because it manufactures things, no, because it did the research, it did the development, it does the design, it holds the IP, and on the other side, it handles the marketing, the financing, the content development. That's where the value lies in the value chain. And with the high value comes not just any jobs, it creates high-quality jobs. So my message to you, Mr. President, if I may, we must innovate, not replicate. We must create, not copy. And the best way to do that is investing in human capital through our best tertiary institutions and by promoting entrepreneurship. That is why Silicon Savannah Innovation Park is so crucial. It can turbocharge the ability of Kenya's youth to lead this digital economy. And Mr. President, as we go for the high ground, and when we, not whether, but when we succeed with Silicon Savannah, we will become the engine of disruptive development. It will catapult the nation to the center of the digital revolution, all the way to middle income status, and I'm totally convinced much faster than we will ever imagine. Africa-owned, Africa-led, Kenya-driven. So with the support of this new park on our Chiromo campus, which I know you know well, it will be Kenya's youth who do just that. And Mr. President, they will do it in two very specific ways. One, by accessing the global digital economy for services. One of the professor colleagues, he's here, not to be disclosed, shared with me something today. I only just found out. Students of the University of Nairobi, of other public universities, they're selling their services in their spare time, and they had quite some spare time in the last few weeks, as you know, CS Education, to actually write the papers of Ivy League students. They write it for them at Harvard, MIT, Stanford, and earn a few bucks in return. But the irony of this situation is it highlights the incredible untapped potential of Kenya's youth. It will be unlocked by this Silicon Savannah Innovation Park. Secondly, let me be Dutch and explicit. Kenya will go nowhere in the economy of today as just consumers of digital services, of just consumers of AI, developed outside of Kenya, outside of Africa. You know, we know, I know, Kenya can do it. In fact, Kenya is doing it, and M-Pesa is a great example. At UON, Mr. President, we have a second-year computer science student, Brian. In his own time, he developed an AI app that helps Kenyan primary school teachers in classroom with too many students to accelerate the rate of grading their papers. So starting today with the Innovation Park at the University of Nairobi, we will have the ability to support huge numbers of students just like Brian, to conceive homegrown digital AI solutions to bring them jobs, jobs, jobs. This Innovation Park, Mr. President, Honorable Minister, Excellency, will be a transmission belt of tech startups to populate the Konza Technopolis. That's, of course, at the heart of Silicon Savannah. All right here in Kenya. And let me be blunt, Mr. President, none. And I think I have the authority to say, because I'm observing it in real time, none of this would be possible were it not for the incredible bottom-up economic transformation vision which you, Mr. President, carry, visualized, operationalize, and implement. Not just behind the Big Five, but behind the total transformation of Kenya's economy, fast-tracked. So we owe it to you, Mr. President, for bringing us here today for this important step. And of course, we owe it to the incredible partnership of France behind this vision. Thanks to President Macron, and thank you, Honourable Minister, for making the journey specifically for this, to deliver this innovation park. And we will build out the park through further partnerships, such as with the United Kingdom. I know the colleagues are here, because you are already supporting the UN on entrepreneurships, on startups, and innovation, and tech. And you told me earlier this week, you're ready to do more. Well, I'm telling you here today, we're ready to do business with you, with the UK, with Gates, with France. We want to build up, accelerate, and drive this. So, Honourable Minister of France, we look forward to the ribbon cutting with President Macron in the next 18 months. But at UN,